Lucy Letby, campaign for her appeal. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. Those of you who have been following my excellent series about Lucy Letby are aware, of course, that she was convicted last week and earlier this week received a number of life sentences. She also received a whole life order, meaning she will die in prison. Notwithstanding a jury that had listened to months of evidence, carefully considered this, and then reached the view that she was guilty in relation to 7 murders and a number of attempted murders, there are those that believe that she is innocent. Interestingly, the Telegraph has reported that a Lucy Letby appeal fund has been launched. Supporters claim the nurse's conviction may represent the greatest miscarriage of justice the United Kingdom has ever witnessed. Quite the hyperbolic statement. I'd be interested to see if that gets beyond the Guildford 4, the Birmingham 6, or more recently, the treatment of various postmasters. For those of you who are unfamiliar, some very flawed software utilised by the post office, which made it seem as if those post office masters were embezzling funds. This resulted in people actually having criminal convictions, so that people were sent to prison. People were bankrupted over the money that was allegedly stolen. And then it transpired that the relevant software that had been installed upon this post office management system was fundamentally flawed, and that no money had been embezzled. That's right, no money had been embezzled. Not only that, but the providers of this software and certain people within the post office knew that it was flawed, but nevertheless continued in a campaign of hounding post office masters and mistresses, resulting in people going to prison, supposedly incurring huge debts, then incurring actual debts by way of fighting the cases, and even in some instances people taking their own lives. The ramifications from that still rumble on, and that would strike me, given the number of people involved and both the unnecessary civil judgments and criminal sanctions that arose from it, that probably would be the greatest miscarriage of justice that the UK has ever witnessed. But here we have supporters of Lucy Letby claiming to the contrary. A campaign to fundraise for Lucy Letby's appeal has claimed the nurse's conviction may represent the greatest miscarriage of justice the UK has ever witnessed. Letby has the right to appeal against her whole life order for murdering 7 babies and trying to kill another 6, although successful appeals against this sentence are very rare. Her legal team has not yet revealed if they plan to appeal, but campaigners who claim she did not have a fair trial are already gathering public support for a project they have named Science on Trial. The main aim of the campaign, led by Sarita Adams, a scientific consultant for biotech startups based in California, is to ensure that scientific evidence is used responsibly in the criminal justice system. Now, pausing there, this is a British case, and therefore you may wonder, why on earth is a Californian interested in the dispensation of justice within the United Kingdom? She, of course, has positioned herself as this scientific consultant for biotech startups, and that the platform is to ensure scientific evidence is used responsibly in criminal justice systems. She is trying to gather a group of scientists, lawyers and activists to help with the convicted murderer's appeal. The fundraising page of the Science on Trial website is not currently open to donations, but there is a coming soon note on the donate button. Our first mission is to campaign for a new trial for Lucy Letby, who was recently convicted of murdering infants under her care at the Countess of Chester Hospital, United Kingdom, the campaign's website states. Lucy Letby's trial may represent the greatest miscarriage of justice that the United Kingdom has ever witnessed. Through fundraising, researching and legal assistance, we aim to ensure that Lucy Letby can have a fair trial where evidence is reliable. Well, Didn't she have a number of experts already involved in the case? She was represented by a KC, so not exactly some wet behind the ears junior barrister. She had a solicitor. So how is it that they would argue that there hasn't been a fair trial already? We are currently working to form a group of scientists, lawyers and activists to aid in the upcoming appeal for Lucy Letby. In a lengthy statement, Ms. Adams criticises the medical evidence that was presented at the trial. This includes criticism of how the high insulin levels detected in two of the babies were presented by the prosecution. Again, pausing there, Lucy Letby accepted that the prosecution's case, that the high insulin level was accurate. She didn't dispute that. Her defence was, I didn't put the insulin there. Accordingly, to my mind, that strikes me as completely pointless to criticise how the high insulin levels were detected, because that was not part of her original defence. She saw that there was nothing wrong with that. She accepted that it was too high, but whether they were too high or too low was irrelevant from her point of view, because she suggested it was nothing to do with her. So again, this individual coming along and interfering in another country's justice system, and doing so on a basis where it's not even pertinent to the defence that was run by Letby, strikes me as somewhat extraordinary. Ms. Adams also criticised the decision to allow medical expert Dr. Dewey Evans to give evidence relating to the administering of air to other victims and the quality of his evidence itself. Again, I'm fairly certain that the relevant experts would have been criticised by the defence originally. That's what the defence tends to do. Ms. Adams describes herself as a scientist with rare expertise in rare paediatric diseases. However, although she has a PhD in biochemistry from Cambridge University, according to her online LinkedIn profile, she appears not to have worked as a scientist subsequently. She runs a consultancy called Railroad Children, which works with under 18-year-olds who have rare diseases and their families to identify novel treatments. Meanwhile, according to the PubMed database of biomedical research, Ms. Adams appears only ever to have contributed to 2 published pieces of research, the last in 2013 related to autism. So there is a campaign for an appeal fund that has been launched, notwithstanding the fact, of course, that if there is any appeal, the state will pay for her Lucy Letby's lawyers. So it's not like she's going to have to actually go around with a begging bowl. Of course, if it's privately funded, you may be able to afford superior lawyers and superior experts. That is worth noting. But what this smacks of to me is that you have an individual who doesn't appear to have any relevant experience, has some qualification, who is attacking part of the evidence when that wasn't the defence that was utilised, who quite simply has sniffed out an opportunity involving a high-profile case which has turned on evidence which includes scientific evidence. But a jury sat through months of evidence and made their determination. Not only is the likelihood of an appeal succeeding very slim, but the fact is that this very much strikes me of somebody coming along and sensing bandwagon. An individual from another country who has nothing to do with the justice system of the country where the defendant is based, identifying an opportunity. It wouldn't surprise me that if there was a consultancy fee gleaned from this work, a percentage of a handling fee for the donations, so that this individual is actually making money off the back of a purported appeal for Lucy Letby. One cannot say, without further detailed examination of the behaviours of Ms. Adams, but the fact that she believes already that the evidence is flawed, that her approach to that evidence is questionable, and this very much smacks of opportunity, does raise questions as to the bona fides of this individual and what she actually stands to gain out of all of this. Publicity, prominence, money, but based upon what? Solid evidence? Solid scientific approach? Remains to be seen. It certainly isn't an auspicious start by criticising how high the how the high insulin levels detected in 2 of the babies was presented, when the defendant accepted that those insulin levels were high and simply said, "It wasn't me that administered it." I wouldn't be surprised if more evidence came out about Sarita Adams if we were to find that she belonged to one of our kind, and that we have a narcissist that has decided, I can get a lot of publicity, I can make some money by basically entertaining some form of grift based off the misfortune of another individual who is facing life in prison, who therefore may decide I have nothing to lose in trying an appeal, and that she is misled into doing so on the flimsiest of grounds. Let me know what your thoughts are about this supposed appeal and the basis of approach from Sarita Adams. Let me know your observations in the comments section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.